If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go where fashion sits? Putting on the Ritz. Different types who wear a day coat, pants with stripes and cutaway coat, perfect fits. Putting on the Ritz. Dressed up like $1 million trooper, trying hard to look like Gary Cooper. Come, let's mix where Rockefellers walk with sticks or umbrellas in their midst. Putting on the Ritz. Putting on the Ritz. Putting on the Ritz. Putting on the Ritz. Putting on the Ritz.
Lou Gombardo's band will be playing, and Sammy Finantra will be singing with the band. It will just be so enjoyable. But before that, I think I would like to ask the waiters and waitresses to pick up the packets, the menus, and go ahead and we will start serving. Enjoy.
First card first, I'll come and get your cards and I'll bring you those 4 items. Any questions?
Bring those back to you before you order the extra.
You may open them and begin reading.
Oh dear.
So we'll be over.
My number only, don't tell anybody. One at a time? One at a time, yes. You have 4 courses, so you get to order 4 times. You get.
Here's our group waiting for their trays to be filled from the kitchen.
You messed up or what?
We're unsure.
We have a delicious salad with no utensils yet because apparently we didn't order them.
Looks wonderful.
Oh, you got a toothpick.
That was water?
Oh, you got an envelope.
Oh boy, oh boy. I'm not going to show this to you guys.
Oh, good.
Well, I've got Noah's son. I've got the doves of, and manna. And,
Looks good. Looks good.
You have bread and butter.
How about that? This is my butter on your
I have a napkin.
Whoa.
I have a knife and a spoon.
All right.
All I have to eat is a bunch of grapes.
Oh.
But then I've got foods for my friends here.
from the vine, and this is apple. Forbidden fruit.
Ooh.
Oh, I don't know whether I should eat it or not. But except I don't have a knife to
Oh. Well, God did give us fingers.
And I'm not
yes,
sharing.
fingers were made
Because-
before forks.
Right. Because
I have to wait for my ice cream to melt.
a radish.
Chicken wings.
Chicken wings. You know what you ordered?
Well, Justin, what'd you get there?
He's starving.
I haven't got to 17 yet. I got to clean this up.
Okay.
Okay, sit down with your clues. I can move you along. Maybe get you some cheese.
Okay.
There's ingenuity for you.
I'm going to go get some. Maybe here. What's this for?
more.
Thank you for dining at the Pitz with us tonight.
Oh, Sammy, I've never seen a tux that color. Sammy, let's run through those 2 bars. Everybody just calm down. It seems that we've had an incident. It looks like there's been some gunfire in the Ruby Room. And
Calm down.
the coroner is on his way, but I'm sorry to report, I think it looks like maybe Sammy Finantra has been shot. So, folks, I'm going to need your help here. We're going to have to question these suspects. They were all in the Ruby Room at the time of the shooting. And let's hear from Roxy first. She's going to give us an eyewitness account.
I can't believe it. I can't believe what just happened. I was sitting with the mayor and Mr. Fishy, and we were at the special table right in the front of the Ruby Room. The waiter had just poured the bubbly for us, and we were toasting the new year. And Lou cued the band, and Sammy got up from his chair and at the end of the bandstand, and he walked to the front to sing Old Lang Syne. He always sits next to Mary Rose in the chair closest to the audience. Suddenly, the lights went out, and it was pitch black. It was just a few seconds, but 3 shots were fired, and when I heard a loud crash, oh my gosh, it was just horrible. The blackout probably only lasted a few seconds, but it seemed like an eternity before the lights came back on. I looked down, and there on the table in front of me was Sammy with a bullet in his chest. Oh, I screamed. I was certain he was dead, but Mr. Fishy checked him just to make sure. Sammy's so popular, but that doesn't mean he's a nice person. His crooning makes some of his fans swoon and even faint, but maybe they just don't know the real Sammy. Nothing like this has ever happened at the Pitz before. It's always been such a safe place. Tell your friends not to be afraid to come. We're still the best supper club in the Windy City.
Okay. All right, let's hear from Lou Lombardo next, I believe.
Lou Lombardo, yeah. The leader of the band. It all happened so quickly. I've still got to get everything straight. We rehearsed this piece so many times that it's almost automatic. Of course, the difference this year was that Sammy was singing Old Lang Syne as a solo. Last year, the lovely Mary Rose performed it as a duet. You might recall that the critics just raved about how their voices just played. I heard shots, but they didn't all sound the same. It almost seemed like whoever did the shooting was moving. Afterwards, I thought I heard the scraping sound, almost as if something was skidding across the floor. I've been in the music business for a few years. I realize that things are always changing. It's very important for a band like the Royal Dreams to have a popular vocalist. Sure, Sammy had a lot of fans, but he's taken off so much time over the last 2 years that I never knew when he was going to be here. Maybe now Mary Rose will realize just how much we need her. Just how much we need her. If she left us, we'd have no one to sing the songs that have made us so popular. This band will move on. Sammy will be missed by some people. But let's all look to the future. The future. Into a new year filled with hope and promise.
All right. Well, next let's hear from Mary Rose Looney.
I'm stunned. I don't know how to feel about Sammy. You probably all know that Sammy and I had been seeing each other socially. A lot of you thought at one time we were going to be married. At one time I thought the same thing, but it just didn't work out. Many of you figured that Auld Lang Syne would be a duet again this year. It looks like Sammy won't be singing duets or solos ever again. What can I add to what you just heard? After Sammy got up to go to the mic, I glanced over at Mr. Fishy's table. He must have had something in his eye because it looked like he was blinking or twitching. Since he was holding a glass of champagne, it could have just been some of the bubbles that were getting into his eye. When the lights went out, I thought I heard some noise. It seemed to come from different directions. First there was one shot, then there were two more. I heard that scraping sound too. Somebody should check around the bandstand. I know Lou needs me now, but I've got a lot to consider. I just need time to think.
All right, thank you, Ms. Looney. Let's hear from Tony here. Tony Ivinsky, Ivory, what do you got to say?
Yo, I can't believe this. How can Tony be shot? It must be a mistake. Now, I don't know what I can tell you, okay? Because when the lights went out, I'm busy trying to read my music because, hey, you know, my piano is the featured instrument for Auld Lang Syne, and I'm very picky how I tune my piano. I've been that way ever since I studied music back in New Jersey, you know? If your piano ain't tuned right, I don't care how good a piano player you are, it just don't sound right. Now, people tell me that makes me a perfectionist. I say that just makes sense. By the way, did anybody check to see if someone else got hit? I don't like it. I don't really like it at all when things go wrong. And I just hope they don't touch my piano. I've spent a lot of time getting it just the way I like it. You never know what's going to happen when people start changing things around. That's why it's good to always be prepared. You think we're ever going to figure this out?
All right, thank you there, Tony. Well, Betty, boom, boom. What do you have to tell us?
Well, I guess it's my turn to do the downbeat here. You know, I'll bet some of the people up there thought it was me just starting the downbeat of a song because, you know, I have a starter pistol in the back of my drum, and sometimes I start the song by giving a good bang. But my starter pistol is sitting right in the back of my drums, and it has blanks. And I've never heard of anybody being killed by a gun that shoots blanks. Now, I'm no investigator, but Sammy was shot in the chest, right? Seems to me that maybe somebody out in the audience here may have been the shooter. And you know, I've read a lot of mystery novels, and they say there are three things that you need. You need motive, you need opportunity, and means. Now, as far as Sammy goes, I can think of a lot of motives that, whoops, people would want him to be dead. But for the means and the opportunity, that might be something a little harder to find.
Just keep in mind that actually the shooting took place in the Ruby Room, so it was the audience in the Ruby Room, which is some of these folks. Okay, let's hear from Shirley Fedora here. What did you see? What was your...
Well, I guess now you'll get a whole different look at what happened. I was back in the cloakroom by the door when the lights went out and the shooting started. I'm always looking out at what's going on in the Ruby Room, so Blue Moon was definitely right. Sammy was looking in my direction when the lights went out. I heard a lot of shuffling on the bandstand, but in the dark I can't tell you where the noise came from. I'll tell you this though, something buzzed by me. It was the strangest thing. Did this really happen to Sammy? Even though I'd been here for a year and a half, I was just getting to know him, and he was learning more about me too. Who knows where all of this would have ended? I guess, in some way, it has ended. You're all going to be here for a while, so if you want to chat a little bit, feel free to come over in my direction. I'll be in the cloakroom. I'm always very willing to have a good conversation. You'd be surprised if I told you what people say to me.
All right, who haven't we heard from yet? Oh, yeah, Giovanni Fishy.
Hey, we talking later, Shirley? All right. First of all, I refuse to answer any questions on the grounds it might incriminate me. Okay, never mind. Of course I haven't, sorry. Look, I'm here all the time. We have our special table over at the Ruby Room, and I was at my table with Roxy and the mayor, and like Roxy said, we were just about to drink the champagne. I got a little up my nose, and I sneezed a little bit. But it might have looked like I was blinking or something like that, but I was just keeping the bubbles out of my eyes. Come on. Strange thing, okay? A few seconds after the lights went out, I felt this hand reaching inside my coat pocket, and I've never had any man reach inside my coat pocket, let alone, I usually have a little bit of heat every so often. But my coat pocket's empty. Somebody took my heat. So if you ask me, this guy Mess over here, he had something to do with it. I'm being framed for everything. These guys are always in my cleaners. They're always trying to get my stuff. They're always trying to understand what's going on. Just, I run my business, you run yours, we're all set, right? Now, they try to pin this rap on me all the time, just because I made sure that Sammy was dead. You gotta check the guy out, you can't be sure. So, Sammy's dead, but I didn't have anything to do with it. It wouldn't shock me if somebody here, was working for the feds and they set me up on this. How about them apples,
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, we haven't heard from the Honorable Mayor yet.
Richmond Dave. You mean you actually think that I, the mayor of this fair city, had something to do with a homicide? Unbelievable! I am a duly elected official, placed in this office for some 20 years by the good people you see in front of me. I have been re-elected not more than a month ago. I was sitting on Giovanni's left. When the lights go out, Roxy, she's on his right. Then, I hear a gunshot. Now, if I had to piece all this stuff together, I'd say that the odds are that that first shot, that didn't kill Sammy. Because I heard a second and a third shot before I ever heard Sammy hit the table. I'm not even so sure that those shots came from the same gun. But that's for you guys to figure out. You're all professionals, right? That's your job tonight. Most of the time, I'm the only guy in this city that can get anything done. That's my job. I got all the power, all the control. That's what I do, and I'm proud of it. But don't worry, I'll get my people in here, and we'll get the evidence figured out, and we'll define what has happened here. We don't need the feds to come in here and do an investigation and tell us how things are going to go. You've got the mayor here of the Windy City, and I'll get my people on this thing, and hey, as long as I'm here and my people are telling us what's going down, I'll believe whatever they tell me. Because hey, remember, I'm your mayor. You can trust me, right?
Right on, Mayor.
Yeah, well, this is a federal investigation, so don't go anywhere. What's going to happen, folks, is we're going to need your help here. We've got to divide up into some investigative teams. It's the only way we can handle 8 suspects at a time. So these 2 tables here, if you're a team. Those 2 tables over there, if you're a team. The 2 tables there in the center, you're going to pair up as a team. Those 2 tables over there on the end, that's a team. So now we got 1, 2, 3, 4 teams. Center table, along with this table right here, why don't you pair up and be a team? And let's see, that makes what, 5? The other 3 tables, you all look like fairly intelligent. We'll make each team by yourselves. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Got 8 teams. There's 8 suspects. I'm going to ask the suspects to each start at one of the teams. We'll give you about 5 minutes to ask them whatever you can, get some information out of them, ask them questions. How long did you know the suspect? Why would somebody want to kill him? You know, and then jot some things down. I've got some sheets here for you to keep track of what's going on. And what we'll do is at the end of 5 minutes, we'll have the suspects circulate to the next team. And when we get all through that, we'll collect our evidence up and see if we can figure out who killed Sammy. All right, so.
I was at the drums, at my drums, ready to go.
But I'm still a little bit upset, but now he's gone. Maybe that will advance my career.
Well, let me put it this way, I've never been convicted. But they have a record on me. They keep an eye on me. Because they're just hard cases.
I was like, it seems to be on me all the time.
I don't know. I just when it comes here all the time.
I've heard rumors that he did some stuff.
He's on the table.
Jimmy was sitting at the table.
Where Roxy was Roxy here, she said, that's what I was looking at. He fell
You look too honest. I think there's some other books out there. Don't forget the clues that you've been getting all evening.
I hooked him up with Lou, and he was down on his luck. He needed us, so I said, here, I know the Sammy character, and he came in.
That was probably
Anybody have any questions for me? No, but that doesn't make you a box. I mean, I'm not married either. I never married. No, not really.
Organized crime, yes, sir.
Well, you never said I do. You read the stuff in that rag and they tell you that, hey, I'm dirty, I'm running with the mob. They got to sell papers. I understand. They got to make a living. Okay, I'll let my record speak for itself. I've been the mayor for 20 years. I just got I just got elected again. Another 4.
I was 18. Got another minute or two, and we'll wrap up this round.
She was a dancer, used to be a dancer.
TV, so,
Just a couple of high school. Like the other day, Wally Woodard was in the cafeteria.
Beaver.
Yes, Wally?
It's not polite for a person to talk while he's eating.
Yes, Wally.
And put your napkin in your lap.
Yes, Wally.
Well, thank you, Wally.
We interrupt this program to bring you this Action News special report.
Reports coming in verify the death of crooner Sammy Finantra, lead singer of Lou Gombardo's band The Loyal Geraniums. By now you all know about the 3 shots, one ending up in Finatra's heart. But here's new information just released by investigators. Ballistics tests on the bullet removed from Finatra's body show that the fatal bullet was .38 caliber. But, and this is an important but, that .38 caliber pistol discovered under the bandstand after the foul deed did not fire the bullet. No, my inquisitive listeners, another .38 caliber pistol fired the shot. And in a further development, authorities have now found the other 2 bullets that were fired in the ruby room of the Pitz. Both were lodged in the wall near the cloakroom. A startling fact, one of the bullets was .38 caliber and matched the one that killed Finantra. The other bullet was .32 caliber. The only deduction that can be made by this reporter is that 2 different pistols were fired. Could this also be a clue about what happened? Unofficial sources say that a supervisor on duty at midnight in Municipal Power Plant number 7 admitted that he was ordered by management to cut power in his sector for 15 seconds as the clock struck the new year. No other details are available. In a related story, Special Treasury Agent Marriott Mess now says he has acquired enough information to file federal indictments on several prominent Windy City residents. We will bring you more details as they become available. This is Trudy Knowles reporting for Action News.
This has been an Action News special report. We now return to scheduled programming already in progress.
I guess they're okay. You don't look any grubbier than usual.
Thanks, Wally.
Down there, lower part of the neighborhood.
Starter pistol?
Not that I'm aware of. But I kind of like the unique way she would start things with that pistol. Really got our songs off the band.
Are you aware of jobs that she might have in addition to the playing the drums in your band?
No.
She work for anybody else besides?
Not aware of that.
And the mayor was sitting at our table. Mr. Giovanni.
Yes. Where were you in relation to the mayor? Next to him? Were you sitting next to him?
Actually, I think I was between the two.
So you were next to Fishy and...
Did not one chance you would be farther away?
It did. There was a pause. There was a pause between the first and then second and third shots. There was a big long pause, and it did seem like it came from a longer distance.
Did you see anybody in the cloakroom?
Well, it depends. What do you mean by carry? Actually, the answer to that question is, yeah, I did it on occasion.
Long arm?
No.
What about this hat chick girl? I didn't know she had done it.
Oh, I thought you were asking me about me and her, like what you suggested.
She had a good view. She had a good view of the Ruby Room.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, surely she sees everything that goes on. I mean, she's like the eyes in the whole place, you know?
Well, I hooked Sammy up with Lou, and you know, Sammy's a great guy. Great guy. And Miss, I really don't know. And Sammy's a wonderful, wonderful guy.
And send your lead investigator. I've got the suspects all around the room here. The lead investigator can go ask any one of them anything you need to know. He can come back and consult with you. You can send him back to another suspect. As much as you can do that in we'll take about 8 minutes for this. And then we're going to have to draw some conclusions. We got, we should have, 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 8 altogether. Mr. Weaver.
What?
I don't like the looks of that camera.
The creative group. So, we have suggested that the murderer was Betty Boom Boom Baxter.
Put her away.
Betty is known to be a hit person. She has killed many, many people by her own admission. And why would she do it? For money, right? People get paid to kill people. And how was the murder committed? Well, she had an extra gun, and it wasn't just the little starter pistol. She had a gun hidden in the drum. And one of the noises that were heard, the scraping noises, was her opening this drum to get the gun out to shoot Sammy. There were a lot of guns in that room, however. There were at least 2 that Boom Boom had. Giovanni had one in his coat. Fedora, who apparently is some sort of hidden person from the FBI.
I knew it!
She had a little toy .22 gun in her purse, and in addition to...
You and I were having words.
It seems like the musicians have lots of guns, actually. And Tony always had to tune his piano. How come? Because he had a gun stuck in there, and it was for some reason, and he doesn't know why, neither do I, but it was making his piano go sour on him, so he always had to tune it. Now, in addition to the person who shot Sammy, did anyone else fire a shot? Well, somebody obviously did. I have a feeling, my group has a feeling, that perhaps one of the noises that sounded like a gunshot was actually a drum. And probably the mayor, this is just a guess, but probably the mayor had a gun. And he was, because he was the one, he was the one that hired Boom Boom. So in order to confuse things and take the pressure off, he just shot the gun into the air. And that's the end.
That was a bit of good fact finding, and I can confirm that Shirley Fodora does work for me. She works for the Treasury Department.
Okay, our group as well had suspected all the women. We knew from a personal basis of Betty Boom Boom Baxter in her little murder sidelight. However, we leaned toward Roxy because we just felt that she had the greed motive and the jealousy of not wanting Sammy to be taking over the club. So we elected her. We only found out about 4 guns in the room. We weren't aware that Boom Boom had 2. But and the reason we chose Roxy is that Mr. Finantra was shot with a .38, and she claimed to have a .32. What her second gun is, I'm not sure. So we're going to stay with Roxy.
This actually was very easy. Colonel Mustard did it with the piano in the conservatory. What was the problem? Everybody knows about the secret passage from the kitchen. We picked Roxy also, partly because she doesn't really own the club. Fishy does, and she was just concerned about business and so forth. She knew about she didn't tell us that, but she knew about the gun and the piano. After all, it's her club. She's there all the time. No way was he going to hide that gun, and she didn't know about it. I guess we were stupid. We didn't ask Boom Boom if she had another gun. So we figured there were. But there were at least 3 guns in the place. Tony had one in the piano, Boom Boom had one in the drums, and Fishy had one in his coat pocket. And everybody knew that. And the last one, anybody else fire a shot? Well, yeah, there was the .32 and 2 shots from the .38. And yeah, that was it. That was it.
My group and I actually believed that it was Miss Boom Boom Betty. The reason why was because we had heard that she was a hit woman for Mr. Giovanni Fishy. But I also think that the mayor was in on it too. Because the mayor must have hired Giovanni, who hired Betty. Giovanni insisted that he did not have a problem with Sammy, which is probably incorrect because he is known to lie.
Really?
She knows the difference between the .32 and the .38. But I think, Marshall, you know yourself, and you've been around enough. As a matter of fact, you said in your report that there was a .38 involved. She said a .32, so what does she know? The mayor was sitting beside him, and let's say, spun around him. Now, boom, boom.
Look at this. First of all, motive. Now, why would you shoot your lead singer and take away all the profits? I mean, what would be the motive? So we think it was a crime of passion. And so we suspect that it was Mary Rose, because she has been left at the altar, and with, what's his name, Sammy out of the way, she gets to come back and be a star of the show, and then he's out of the way. Now, she might have had some help. It could be that other people were thinking that Sammy was getting too full of himself, and that he needed to be taken out. Because who knows, maybe after she had left, maybe after Mary Rose left, maybe Sammy would leave too, and then where would they be? So it could be she had some help. Now, if anybody could get the lights turned off at midnight, I would think it'd be the mayor who would give out that order.
But we think that Mary Rose shot Sammy, and that Boom Boom tried to shoot Shirley twice but missed.
It was Boom Boom, but then we decided, we've all watched mystery shows. We know it's never the obvious one, so we ruled her out immediately. We decided Tony was pretty slick. He could have. And Lou didn't provide us with a lot of details. It was like maybe he was avoiding things. But we finally decided it must have been Roxy because she was worried about losing the club.
The following pages contain the solution to the murder. To solve this crime, 3 things must be considered: murder, means, and opportunity. First, let's consider the motive. Why would someone want to kill Sammy Finantra? Several obvious motives come to the forefront. Mary Rose Looney. 2 months ago, she was part of a duet with Sammy, but now she's only doing solos. Sammy was a cad who stole her affections and then left her to fend for herself. She's decided it's time to leave the loyal Geraniums for a new job on the West Coast. It was Sammy who caused her to make the change. Would she take care of one final fatal detail before leaving? Lou Gombardo wanted Sammy out of the way. Certainly Sammy was a stellar attraction, but he was also the reason that Mary Rose was leaving the band. And, shy fellow that he is, he hadn't worked up the nerve to tell Mary Rose that he had fallen in love with her. He wanted her to stay and felt so long as Sammy was still around, he would lose her. And Roxy Romano. After so many years of estrangement from her father, she would have had the chance to reconcile with him before he died yesterday if Sammy hadn't been so wrapped up in himself. Rocco Romano had left a note at the Pitz saying he was seriously ill and would be checking into the charity ward at the Windy City General Hospital. He wanted to see Roxy before he died to show affection to his daughter for the last time. The note was given to Sammy and was to be given then to Roxy, but Sammy forgot to pass it on until it was too late. Shirley Fedora considered doing away with Sammy. Why? Well, Shirley is a treasury agent working for me. That's right, she's an unmentionable and was planted as a mole at the Pitz to help me acquire enough information to indict both Giovanni Fischi and Mayor Daley. When Sammy put down Mary Rose, he picked up Shirley, but Shirley only saw him for professional reasons. At lunch New Year's Eve, Shirley accidentally dropped her bag in front of Sammy. Her badge and .22 caliber pistol that she always carries spilled onto the floor. If Sammy saw them, her cover would be blown. If he were eliminated, her work could continue. Certain other people had what they thought was motive for killing Sammy, even though that motive was based on faulty interpretation of information. You see, Giovanni Fischi knew a mole had been planted to watch him and to report back to me. To find out who the mole was, he called in a few markers and paid an informant with access to official channels to help him identify the mole. His informant communicated with him in the classified ads of the Windy City Gust. In the New Year's Eve edition, he cryptically told that SF was the mole. SF, the first person that came to mind was Sammy Finantra, his distant cousin with ties to the Smelly family. Since the family ties mean little in the business, Fischi felt that he must do away with Sammy before Sammy did away with him. Now we know that SF actually refers to Shirley Fedora, but Fischi didn't know that. Sammy must have heard this and turned in the direction of the sound, making him face the person who had fired the fatal shot. For in the darkness, another hitman took aim. A total of 3 shots were fired. The first shot was Boom Boom's, the .32. The next 2 shots came from a .38, the .38 caliber Colt revolver that Tony Ivor Ivinsky kept hiding in his piano. That weapon provided the means for murder, and the reason why the piano always seemed to be out of tune. It took Tony a few seconds to get to his weapon, but when he did, he fired twice, not at Sammy, but at Giovanni Fischi. By this time, through the darkness, Sammy was, as I said, facing Tony. Tony's first shot missed everyone, lodging close to Boom Boom's errant shot in the wall. But the second shot hit Sammy in the heart and flinging him backwards onto the table. Roxy never fired a shot from Fischi's pistol. When she heard the shooting, she panicked and flung the weapon under the bandstand, where it was later discovered by authorities. In the commotion that followed, it was easy for Boom Boom and Tony to hide their firearms and remove them later when the authorities incorrectly assumed that Fischi's Smith & Wesson weapon was the murder weapon. In essence, it was a hit that was a miss, but it was a homicide nonetheless. You did it, Tony, and you are under arrest.
Yo, this is bogus. No, this is bogus. I want a lawyer. This many people's got to be lawyers in the room. Yo. Oh, this is bogus.